New cards, PogChamp, new cards, PogChamp. Folks, the 25th anniversary never ends. We are now entering the Yu-Gi-Oh! 25th anniversary of the animation. And to celebrate that, they are doing a Duelist Live Kingdom, like, I guess some sort of event where Yugi and Kaiba will be singing. What do you think they're singing in this picture? Skibbity Fortnite. Skibbity, skibbity Fortnite. Right? Okay, so look who's performing at the concert. Kimeru. I don't know any of these people. A host of talented artists who have sung the theme songs of previous shows. Oh, okay, all right. That's kind of fun, though. That is kind of fun. I enjoy that. That's interesting. This will be a fun time for sure. However, what's more fun is this. More chibi arts from Monster Mayhem. So the new Battles of Legends set, one of the selling points is going to be a bunch of chibified versions of existing cards. We've already got the Gores, so we can stop there. But it looks like we also are going to get Dark Paladin, which we knew already, Gept, and Junk Warrior. Not a huge fan of the Junk Warrior. I think it looks kind of like shit. But the Gept is looking killer. Look at the Gept, dude. Oh, man, that's adorable. You got Neos on there, too. Oh, yeah. This is going to be fun. I like the Battles of Legends sets. I think it's going to be okay. All right, let's do what we're here for. Maze of the Master! So, Maze of the Master, openings went up, Sunday? And they're great. Whoa, my God. What's with my recommendeds? Oh, this is the VOD account. So Jobber got one, Cyber Knight got one. I love that Jobber is getting them. And MST TV got one. Revs got one too. Why can't I find Revs? There it is. Nope, here it is. We got Revs from 2018 in the intro.
Subscribe.
Revs, if you're watching this, do you still look like this? This is like a kind of like, it's a very like in the wake of iDubbbz sort of thing to do in the beginning of an intro. Like it's a very 2018 thing. It's from 2018. It's 6 years. He's 6 years older than this. He's got to look different now. You can look at his QCR hunting video to look at him. I'm going to do it. I'm stalking Revs. QCR hunting. This one.
This is Yu-Gi-Oh's newest rarity, the quarter-century secret.
Okay.
Subscribe.
That's what he looks like here. Let's see what he looks like now.
It has been...
It's a different guy! This is a different guy!
In 4 months since we last uploaded
Looks the same to me. Offie, all white people look the same to you.
the Treasure Hunters episode, and I know what you're thinking. He gave up, didn't he?
He's still 25 like the Yu-Gi-Oh! 25th anniversary. That's too good.
Nope.
He looks the same. Are you face blind? What are you talking about? This? Okay, look at this.
Subscribe.
And then look at this. Two different people. I'm sorry. You're out of your mind. He looks older. What do you want me to say?
Rares in the set.
There's no glasses on this guy.
All of them meta, all of them super expensive. I mean, except for like Mistbat.
Oh my God. You're just lying to my
Release
face.
of Maze of the Master is just around the corner, and this set comes with a whole bunch of fun new cards.
You would fall
all
for
decks.
Superman versus Clark Kent. You would
Sure,
think
know the
Superman
drill
is
there.
every
Thanks for
person you
having
see on the
2
street.
boxes to open, so let's
You would see
get
like a
out
black woman and
maybe
be like,
pull
that could be
ourselves
Superman.
a 7th Tachyon. That's gonna require some luck points.
All right, so sorry for the quick detour, but I watched through Revs' openings. I like Revs' openings because Revs is like the worst at masking that the cards suck ass. There's like the rest of them have the YouTuber cadence down perfectly, where they open them and they're like, whoa, and then they like look off to the side at the script that they've been given and they're like, that card will go crazy in my Galaxy Eyes Tachyon strategy. But Revs will open up a secret rare that sucks. It'll be like, oh, that's a secret, huh? Let me hear. I'm gonna pull up where he opens up. He opens up a CR of the new ABC card. Yeah, here it is.
Very nice reprint, actually. Harold the Purple Light, Oh, whoops. Okay, Ruxin Special. We got another Changying and a collector's rare, A to Z Energy Load. This, yeah, definitely a collector's rare. Look at that.
This, definitely a collector's rare. Yeah, look at that.
It looked like a Prismatic Ultimate Rare for a sec, out of the Rarity Collection. But yeah, A to Z Energy Load Collector's Rare, very, very nice. I was just mentioning how
He's like, what do you want me to say about this? This card is poopy.
the Christrons are a very cool deck now. Actually, really, really good. But yeah, Collector's Rare, very nice pull.
Okay, so here's what we've learned about A to Z energy load. Whoops! Ooh, Ruxin Special. Oh, a collector's rare. It definitely is a collector's rare. Yep, that's a collector's rare. Okay, collector's rare A to Z energy load. Very cool. I love it. He's so good. He's my favorite of any of the people that do box openings.
That was an accident. The Ultra's in a collector's rare.
I'm sorry. Like, I hope this isn't coming off as critical because I legitimately do love Revs' content, and I love that he is more candid in these than everyone else. I can't get it up for fucking John Johnson opening up a box, and it's like, whoa! I didn't know that Antidote Nurse was going to be in Maze of the Master on store shelves today.
Get the like crazy box pool of a collector's plus a QC though.
Anyway, so we know the stuff in it, and I'll be honest with you, most of it is pee pee poo poo bad. Let me just give you the highlights. X Cross Cannon, Y yada yada Head, and Z Zillion Tank are somehow worse than the ABCs that were released in 2016. This is the XYZ retrains, which they are now retraining for the third time. It's really cool that they were like, oh yeah, we got to give like the new generation of ABC support, but the old generation of ABC support is better than the new generation of ABC support. It's insanely funny. It's honestly one of the best things they could do. We've got Trickstar Bistro Huddy. These cards are interesting, but don't change anything in a meaningful way for any of the decks they affect. Aqua Angel being a Marincess is cool. That's like a single card that they'll play in Trickstar. Grief Tablet is the funniest card I've ever seen. Once per turn, this card is always treated as a Wedju card. You equip it to a monster, it can't attack or be tributed, and its effects are negated. If you control the equipped monster, once per turn you can add a Wedju from your deck to your hand, except for Grief Tablet. If this card is sent to the graveyard because the equipped monster is destroyed, your opponent takes 500 points of damage. So this is like a 2002 card that crept its way into a 2025 set. I want you to guess right now how big the pool of Wedju cards is. That's correct. There is one Wedju card. There are two if you count Grief Tablet, but it can't search Grief Tablet. So the only thing you can search is Wedju Temple. Some people were like, oh, we'll play this in Millennium. Let me ask you this. What are you equipping this to in Millennium? Because anything that Millennium summons theoretically gets you to Wedju Temple. Any of the Millenniums coming out gets you Wedju Temple already. You don't need it. Put them on your opponent, but if they're on your opponents, you can't search the Wedju. It's the funniest card that's ever existed. Duke of Demise coming out is at least something for some decks. That's enjoyable, right? The clear cards are the first archetype to do nothing. Me and Rebecca were going over this set list the other day, and we were like, wow, this is the greatest gift to 1 minute overview in the history of time because none of these can be TMTs. The most promising stuff out of it is the Allure Queens, which we've already made an OMO about because I thought they would be imported with the other Allure Queen because I'm stupid. Also, Sword Soul reprint. Peruli is in this. That's nice. Some of the Gladiator Beast cards have been creeping up in price, so it's good to get like a Retiari reprint. Carry Andriax, of course, was expensive for no reason. But outside of that, it's really nothing interesting, which means the only thing we can really talk about is the Odion stuff. So we have, unfortunately, now gotten the Odion release. And I'll be honest, I was super excited for the Odion stuff. The reason for that is, did you see what they did to the Ishizu stuff? I know a lot of people are going to look at old Apophis and they're going to be like, okay, these cards are bad. There's no way you can make them good. Can you imagine a world in which a Guido is bannably strong? Like, legitimately. Like, go back 5 years and be like, the most powerful card in 2022 is going to be a Guido. You know, people would call you crazy then, too. So anything can happen. And this is a character that at least there is a little bit of possibility that the cards are going to be good. Well, we have the cards, and they're... they are the worst case scenario. They are the worst possible thing they could be, which is not good and not bad. They're fine. But they look fun. We're going to go through the rest of these cards with the implicit assumption that they are playable, okay? So if you're watching this after the fact and you think Joseph is overdosing on copium, if you're watching it in 2026, he's so stupid these cards never got played at all. We are just going to start this segment by assuming they are good, okay? And then if it turns out we're wrong, too bad. So here's what we do. First up, the man with the mark. This is Odion. So if this card is normal or special summoned, you can take a Temple of the Kings or a spell trap that mentions it from your deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. Don't worry, you don't have to play Temple of the Kings in this deck. You do, but there's a better card you can search off this. You can only use this effect of the man with the mark once per turn while you control Temple of the Kings. This card and Apophis monsters that you control cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. Temple of the Kings you control also cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. Okay. Next up is Merciless Scorpion of Circuit. Has to be special summoned from your hand by banishing a level 10 or higher monster from your hand or deck while you control Temple of the Kings. You can only special summon Merciless Scorpion of the Circuit once per turn this way. Once per turn during your main phase, you can add a Temple of the Kings or a spell that mentions it from your deck to your hand. And at the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, destroy that monster. This card gains attack equal to half the destroyed monster's original attack. Of course, it can't then attack because it's during the damage step. This card doesn't read like it. This is raw support. We'll get there in a sec. Anubis, the Last Judge. First off, really, really, really excellent design out of this guy. Whoever drew this did a fucking bang-up job. One of my favorite sort of art directions in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's so hard to make Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards that are Egyptian in some capacity feel different than the other Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards that are Egyptian. But I love what they've done here. He is huge and imposing, but he's got this tiny little head. He's gangly. He's having a hard time sitting in frame. I love it. He is just such a... You get the impression that he's like... You know, obviously Anubis is like death-oriented, but you get the concept that he's like an ancient millennia-old kind of deity. I love it. It's great. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Has to be special summoned by having 3 or more cards in your graveyard with different names that are Temple of the Kings or are traps. And you can place 2 of them on the bottom of the deck in any order to summon it. You can send this card from your hand to the graveyard to add the man with the mark from your deck to your hand. And if a spell trap you control is destroyed by a card effect, you can target a card your opponent controls, destroy it. That's once per turn. This guy's super important because he is Rhoda. Divine Serpent Apophis. This is a fusion. But it doesn't need a fusion spell. You contribute 2 Apophis monsters to fusion summon this card. Special summon this card, rather. And then once per turn, you can set up to 3 Apophis traps with different names in your graveyard. And if a trap card is activated, you can target a card your opponent controls, destroy it. Great card. This card's really, really strong. And then this card, which is not strong at all, Divine Scorpion Beast of Circuit, is a circuit and a monster with 2,500 or less attack. You'll notice that is a very generic summoning condition. That's because they have a super poly. If this card is special summoned at the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can target a face of monster your opponent controls or has in their graveyard, banish it, and this card gains attack equal to the banished monster's original attack. It can make a second attack during each battle phase while level 10 or higher monster is banished. That's right. It's a card from 2013 that has snuck into a modern pack. Treasures of the Kings. So this card's a field spell that is treated as Temple of the Kings while in the field zone, which is super important for all these cards that mention Temple of the Kings. When this card is activated, you can set an Apophis trap from your deck, and then once per turn, if you have 2 or more set cards on the field or a trap in your graveyard, you can add a monster that mentions Temple of the Kings from your deck to your hand. That's a hard once. Finally, we've got Defense of the Temple, which lets you fusion summon an Earth fusion from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or face-up field. And if you have a monster that mentions Temple of the Kings being used as material, you can use face-up monsters your opponent controls as material as well. And if you control Temple of the Kings, you can banish this to added dangers of the Divine from your deck to your hand. People are looking at this, they're like, super polymerization. This is not super polymerization. It is in no way even remotely comparable to super polymerization. First and foremost, of course, it can be responded to. Second off, it's a normal spell. You can't activate it during the battle phase. Third off, it's super polymerization in the sense that hero gets to play super polymerization, which is a removal spell. It eats one guy and then makes a second guy that doesn't do anything. It's not good. It's like Fallen of Albaz, but worse. Dangers of the Divine says you can pay half your life points and tribute a monster to special summon a Winged Dragon of Ra from your hand or banishment, ignoring its summoning conditions. It's 4K. It can't attack, and during the end phase of the next turn, return it to the hand. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, choose a Winged Dragon of Ra in your monster zone. Send all other monsters on the field to the graveyard. That's a once per turn. And finally, Verdict of Anubis. When your opponent activates a spell trap card while you control 3 or more other spell traps, negate the activation if you do destroy the card. Then if you control Temple of the Kings, you can destroy as many monsters your opponent controls as possible, then inflict damage to your opponent equal to half the total attack of those destroyed monsters. Verdict of Anubis is a hard once. And Apophis the Serpent. Special summon this card as a normal monster with an effect, by the way. Then you can set an Apophis trap from your deck, except himself. It can be activated this turn. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add an embodiment of Apophis from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. So, these aren't terrible. I gotta be real. They are not terrible. So here's the gameplay loop that they want you to do. You lead Anubis the Last Judge. You send it to the graveyard in order to add the Man with the Mark from your deck to your hand. You activate the Man with the Mark, and you grab either a Temple of the Kings or a spell trap that mentions it. The spell trap that mentions it is this, Treasures of the Kings. When you activate this, you get to set an Apophis trap from your deck. You set Apophis the Serpent. On activation, you can set an Apophis trap from your deck, except this, and it can be activated this turn. And the card you set is the new Apophis that they played in True Draco during the EX0 festival that is an Omni Negate. Okay? So this is a ton of resources for this setup. If you get a second trap in your opener that's Apophis related, you can also summon Anubis the Last Judge. If you get another guy onto your side of the field, not difficult to do if you're reborning the Anubis from the graveyard, you can make Silhouette Rabbit, and the Silhouette Rabbit can turn into a what's the Anguish pattern, which will allow you to pop a card when you summon this Apophis the Serpent. If you get even farther, you can get the Apophises onto your side of the field turn 1 by using Temple of the Kings to activate the first Apophis on your turn, then activate the second Apophis immediately, fusion summoning Apophis, which means that you get to reset all those cards, cash them in on your opponent's turn, and pop individual cards when you flip them. That particular setup is game-winning. It is, in fact, enough to win the game, which is more than I can say about a lot of the cards that Konami's been printing recently. However, a lot has to go right. It's worse Argo Stars? Not at all. A lot has to go right. What I'm describing are not one-card combos. The one-card combo I explained is only okay. Most of these hands are going to rely on you drawing 2 pieces of engine. Now, it is not unlikely that you have 2 pieces of engine because you're maxing out on Man with the Mark, maxing out on Anubis, maxing out on the Temple, maxing out on this Apophis, and they all search each other, but you are still going to have them. There are some hands that do something interesting with one card, but they require discards. So those are 1.5s, right? I do want to highlight some interesting stuff that you can do if you have enough searches that you're able to play the bad cards in this deck. I know a lot of people saw Winged Dragon of Ra and stopped reading Dangers of the Divine, but this is a really good card if you're unfamiliar. So, you can get a Winged Dragon of Ra into your banishment really easily by activating the effect of Merciless Scorpion of Serpent, right? You use the Merciless Scorpion effect to banish a Winged Dragon of Ra from your deck, special summon this guy, and then, you plus off of it. Or you immediately search the spell card. You grab Dangers of the Divine, And then you summon the Winged Dragon of Ra. And here's a really weird thing that you're going to learn right now. This effect, if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, choose a Winged Dragon of Ra and send all other monsters on the field to the graveyard. Immediately triggers. That's not like if it's destroyed. You activate this card, summon the Ra, and then in a new chain, Dangers of Divine will trigger, wiping the board. So, like, this is an in-archetype board wipe that puts you behind a Winged Dragon of Ra. And you don't give a fuck about the board wipe because you have all these traps set, right? Now, I did bury the lead a little bit. I said you can search Divine off of Circuit, which is true if you go get Defense of the Temple and get it into the graveyard. Which is not ideal. To do that, you have to go Circuit, Banish, Defense of the Temple, perform a Fusion Summon, which is possible. You already have the Circuit monster. You just need a big guy. But also sucks. Like, going second, you can do it. Going first, it's not great. You also, yeah, the chat's correct. If you open 2 starters, you can use the Man with the Mark to send it, which gets you the board wipe. Like, you see what's going on here, right? All of these cards form a super synergistic loop in which by playing enough of them, you have access to all of them just by virtue of the fact that they all kind of mention and search and find each other. And that's great news because they all do great stuff. Like Verdict of Anubis is super strong. Dangers of the Divine is a board wipe that you don't care about. It's a one-sided torrential. Anubis is just a guy that recurs infinitely. The Fusion lets you recycle these Apophis traps forever. That's why people are excited about this. All right, are we done kind of coming ourselves to death? All right, let's come back to life and recognize some stuff. Because all these cards search each other, you are probably playing some number of these crazy ass immediately win counter traps and quick play spells. But drawing these cards sucks. Just finding them in your opener without the requisite amount of setup is really bad. There's going to be positions where you get into where Verdict of Anubis is in your grip, but it also isn't online. There's going to be situations where Dangers of the Divine isn't live versus your opponent's deck or strategy because they have too many must answers. There's going to be a lot of positions you get into in which Man of the Mark just doesn't fucking resolve. You normal summon this guy, and he gets ashed, he gets impermed, he gets veilered. And finally, God forbid you go second. It is so rough to imagine a world in which this deck is able to do any of this going second. Anubis gets eaten by Called by an Ash. This stupid Temple card is just the most detonatorable card I've ever seen in my entire life. Dangers of the Divine is hilarious because when its effect triggers, you have to choose a Winged Dragon of Ra in your monster zone. So if they chain Detonator to the effect of Dangers of the Divine in the graveyard and pop the Winged Dragon of Ra, it's not going to send all the cards on the field to the graveyard, right? Am I wrong? I think that's how it works. No, you're right. Yeah. These cards don't play well at all into Caesar. They don't play well at all into Whitebinder because a significant amount of your traps are going to go to the grave and then have to be reset off of Divine Serpent Apophis. They really don't play well once your opponent reads Defense of the Temple once and recognizes that your super polymerization is actually not super polymerization. It's going to require a circuit to be on your field. So by removing this copy of Merciless Scorpion, you can blanket or force them to go into Apophis, which they usually can't do. And finally, and Peeps is going to hate this, but Aklork23, you are one step ahead of me on this. The obvious fit for this deck is to throw in Torrentials, Strikes, close your eyes, take the Magenta Pill, and pretend that that's a type of deck that can win in the year of our Lord 2025. But if your combo gets into a position where you intend to win the game, you are already setting 4 or 5 cards. So it's going to be kind of rough in a lot of hands to just be staring at a grip full of settable traps, be able to set one of them into an opponent who in games 2 and 3 you can bet your ass will be attempting to lightning storm you for your life savings. I think these cards are cool. I think they form a tight-ass resource loop. I would not be surprised if they are good in some capacity, but the deck has really, really clear weaknesses and a really, really rough time actually building these powerful cards into a strategy that can consistently do something into the face of interaction. Which is why at the beginning I said, I don't think they're bad, but I don't really think they're good either. I love Dueling Book. Why has it started doing this, by the way? I have not had a Dueling Book replay go correctly on the first go once in this last month. Okay, this is with Argo Stars. Already setting ourselves up for failure. Treasures the King set Apophis. Normal Argo Stars. Glorious Audra. Set the Lightning Tudu and the Swift Kapan. Cycle this card that we were able to draw and grab a Home Stadium. Go Swift Kapan. These two for the Rabbit. Yep, Bunny, go ahead and set the last one, Slayer Ateo. Temple of the Kings, grab a Merciless Scorpion. Scorp effect, we will banish... Oh my god! Genro Ryuge Hakva. Alright, I guess we'll grab Temple here. Activate Apophis, set Swamp Deity. Activate Swamp Deity. Why are we flipping a coin? Summon Swamp Deity. These two for Divine Serpent. Reset the whole graveyard. Off for Home Stadium. Grab Swift Kapan. Set that. Okay, see, like... This is what Big Trap wants you to play. And by the way, Peeps, a perfect example of... Now, where does the Strike and the Torrential go? But... This is not enough. I hate to be like this. This is not enough. It's playing a sub-engine, and it's playing Genro Ryuge Hakva. I will have to find something else to do. I'm having a hard time not believing that the answer here is 18 hand traps. Like, as much as I want to be like, I'm thinking outside the box, I'm activating Torrential, this seems like the perfect deck for 18 hand traps. So, we'll see. The answer is Runic. Oh, did Josh just look at these cards or something? I think this deck is not fixable. You don't yet believe. You don't yet believe in the strength of Fiendsmith's Tract. This might just be the worst maze archetype. This is a top 3 maze archetype. Be real. Of 3. Like, this is a much better deck than Flame Swordsman. I think, yeah, chat has mentioned that Jeff Jones has been doing some stuff. I probably should not be looking at this on stream. I literally can't do this. All right. Cool 1-card Odion. This is the same board. Update. There are Fiendsmith cards in my deck now. Update 2. I have started beating the Ryziel deck. I just want you all... I want you all to come with me on a journey through Jeff Jones's mind. Step 1, starts doing the obvious thing. There is another continuous trap deck in the format. Let's play it with Argo Stars. He's like, okay, this isn't great because in Alliance Insight we get the Argo Rhoda. For now, it's a little sacky, but there are some good things you can do with 1-card combos when it comes to Argo and Odion. Then caves and goes, let's put Fiendsmith cards in my deck now. 9:05 p.m. In under 3 hours, he goes, I have now started beating the Ryziel deck. The response, we are still playing Argo Star cards, right? Yeah, I mean, what did you expect? You know? Number 1 first thing to be cut. Devastating news. Blame Detonator. Yes. I have hope in these cards, but I don't have that much hope.